Well, good afternoon. We are still down at the BBC Gardeners World Spring Fair at Beaulieu, and we've come across the Hilliers Plant Advice Stand. And Chris, good afternoon.
Hi there. Hi, it's nice to see you.
So you're under the banner of Plant Advice here, so you're the guru of everything planty.
I'm not sure I'm the guru of everything planty. I'm definitely a part of Hillier and our whole exhibit here, and I'm in charge of the Hillier business, and we've obviously set up a large garden exhibit that we do, and our retail area, and yes, plant advice. We're the people we ask everybody to come to for advice. And I know a little bit, but we've got a couple of experts behind me who know an awful lot more than me.
See, that's the thing, it's knowing people that do, isn't it? As well, having people to turn to. Your garden is fantastic. I mean, is that you that's done the designing, your team, and how long did it take to get that? Because it's good.
So, it was me who did the design. That is very loosely based on a part of my garden, but I can guarantee that is so much better than the actual piece in my garden. I went back after we'd set this up, opened the window and had a look out and thought, I really need to do some work on that. But obviously we have the choice of so many plants off of the nursery and all of the trees and everything, so it's easy to pick the best specimens and get them in here and do a really good garden.
Yeah, that's true enough. And I was going to say, actually, with you being a professional horticulturalist, is it like a plasterer or a decorator at home? They never do it at home because you do it professionally at work, and the garden at home kind of takes a back seat to the work garden.
Probably. I am a keen gardener. That's how I got into it. I was a really keen amateur gardener. And then you get into it, and you're probably right. Always when we set these things up, they are much, much better than anything at home. And you always go home and think, I thought I'd done a good job on this, and I probably need to do a bit of work on it.
So, is there one bit of advice that you have that you would say 100% everyone needs to know?
Is there one bit of advice? Crikey, that's a
broad question.
And there are a lot. I'll tell you the piece of advice we often give people when they want to look at a garden, a new garden, start a border, whatever it is. The first thing is understand your soil. If you understand your soil, then you'll put the right things in and you'll grow the right things and they'll grow well. And the other bit of that is understand your soil, and then do take time to really improve that soil. Because I don't think anybody really has the perfect soil in their garden, and the best thing you can do is spend a year or so just improving it with a compost or a manure or something, because if you do that, it'll really pay you back, and you'll then put plants in and they'll really take off.
I was going to say, I've made that mistake a few times in my garden.
Sometimes it's quite hard, though, isn't it, for people when they get into it? And you say the soil, you're absolutely right, being the expert on it. But how would you know which soil is what without testing it? Or do you have to test it? Can you know, just by kind of running your fingers through or what have you, whether it's what sort of soil for the plants? Is there an easy?
You'll have a pretty good idea. You can often see a clay soil because it's either very soft and like clay that you model with when it's wet, or it's bone dry and cracking, and you can see that that's sort of a clay soil. Really good soil. So many people say clay soils are terrible to grow in. They're probably one of the best soils. They've got so much nutrient in them, and if you can improve them a little bit, you've got one of the best soils. And then you'll know a sandy soil because it's very loose and free draining, and that's again, both of them you want to improve them to get the best out of your plant.
Yeah, it makes absolute sense because you come to a garden, you look at your garden, you come to a garden show like this, pick something that looks nice, take it home and plant it, and it dies. And you think, why was that? But it's the soil, isn't it? Making sure it's happy with its environment. Absolutely. It's really important.
Absolutely. Often it is the soil, making sure you buy the right plant for the right place. I'm as guilty as anybody else, and so we all are. We should know better. But we look at a plant and go, wow, I love that, I must buy it. And then we get it home and say, well, where am I going to put it? And have I got the right place for it? Am I putting it in the right soil? Is it in the right conditions? Is it in the right aspect? All those things are really important to grow a good plant. And we all, of course, want to grow the wrong plant in the wrong place because it's a plant we love. And we all do it, every one of us.
I want to see it from my window, regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's really good, really good. And does anyone bring their own plants to you here at the show for advice? And what am I doing wrong? Why does it look like this?
So we see an awful lot of that, and it is always amusing because you'll probably see here in a minute there will be people who turn up with a plastic bag with a few leaves in that have either got holes in them or a bit of marking or all that sort of thing, and it's what's wrong with this? The most amusing one we had was last year. Somebody turned up with a bag with a whole load of roots in it and said, "Can you tell me what this plant is?"
It's not.
Roots. Haven't got a clue. But yeah, there is also the, "What's wrong with my plant? It's dead."
Yeah, I was going to say it's not attached to the stem, and that would be my expert opinion on it. But yeah, I can't believe that people are actually bringing stuff down for your advice. Yeah.
I was going to say, do you get sort of the same, very similar questions quite often, or are they all so varied, or is it sort of the same?
Yeah, we do. If we work in our garden centres, we almost get the same 10 questions. And we get a lot of people come to work for us and they say, "Well, I'm not an expert, I don't know a lot." And I say, "You work for a week, and at the end of the week, you'll know the 10 questions that you get asked." And they almost always start with, "I've got a north-facing, dry, shady spot. What do I put in it?" And that's probably the biggest question we get asked all of the time. But they are very common questions. And at the show, one of the most common ones at the moment is so many people are affected by something called box blight, or there's a caterpillar that gets on box. And you know how box is a lovely shrub hedge that people trim and make nice shapes of them and everything. And everybody wants it. It's a really trendy plant, but it is really being affected by those two diseases. And they all say, "What can I do with it? What do I do?" And I'm afraid our answer is quite a simple one: dig it up and plant something else. Because so many people persevere with it and they try and deal with it, and then after about 3 or 4 years they go, "Do you know what? I should have just dug it up at the beginning and put something else in it."
As I was advised to do by Chris down at Hilliers. They didn't do it. I was going to say, Hilliers then, so you're up the road in Ampfield, is that where you're based?
Yes. Yeah,
so it's not far, is it, from
here? Our
here?
head office is in Ampfield, and we've got several nurseries around there. We've got one nursery that we grow our container plants for our garden centres. It's about 100 acres, and we grow about 1 million plants a year on that nursery.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
yeah, a lot. And that's to supply our 22 garden centres, which are based all across the south of England.
Oh, brilliant.
That's fantastic. And I've actually seen the trees that you grow, container trees, massive trees that people can just buy and put straight in their garden, instant effect.
Yeah. So that's the other part of our business is we are the biggest grower of semi-mature trees in the UK. We have well over 1,000 acres where we grow trees, and you'll see examples here of some of our trees. Those are all containerised. None of those trees were planted in the ground. They're all in containers. We bring them in on Monday in the container, sit them down, and we'll lift them up and take them back to the nursery afterwards. And we do sell an awful lot of different size containerised trees.
Yeah, it's incredible, because sometimes people don't have the patience to wait for it to. I mean, something like that's going to take. I'm just looking at a big tree for people listening. Something like that's going to take a long time to grow, and people sometimes don't want to wait.
Yeah, not the patience for it.
No, absolutely. And we supply a lot of our trees to sort of some of the bigger projects. So you see house builders will build quite big estates, and then they'll need to put trees and landscape within. Well, if they put a little tiny tree in, it's never ever going to get established. So that's why we sell quite a lot of the big trees, that big and even bigger. And we sell trees to a lot of local authorities, so do the street planting of trees. Probably the project that most people can relate to is the Olympic Park and all of the big trees and plants that went into that.
Yeah.
And we supplied all of those trees into that sort of project. So that's the one that most people recognise, but we did Sky headquarters and those big projects we do quite a lot.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for all your time. Do you have any other questions, Charlotte?
No, I think you've. That was the only other one I've got. No, thank you. No, you've done fantastic
Chris from Hilliers,
job.
thank you so very much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.